Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, some exciting news from Par Tolls. He's the CEO of Tolls Development Company, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday. Trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always delighted to welcome back to the program Par Tolls. He is the CEO of Tolls Development Company. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
Hi, Sam.
So great news that you are now able to publicly reveal. You talked about it to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Eli Segal broke the story a couple of weeks ago. But you've purchased a large piece of property in Jean, Nevada. So explain to folks, A, where Jean is, B, how big this piece of property is, and C, what currently sits on there.
Right. So have you been to Jean, Nevada?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Jean, Nevada is about 34 miles south of, call it the Strip, about 13 miles north of the California line. It's really the only fee simple land available between, say, Henderson and State Line. And as we were looking, and we'll talk more about just the fundamentals of the industrial market right now, but being closer to California is a good thing, maybe in its most simplistic reason. So we were able to buy 140 acres from the Herbst family.
140 acres,
140
which is
acres.
a lot of land.
A lot of land on both sides of I-15. And there's a large 800-room casino called the Gold Strike Casino, and we're not going into the gaming business. But it's kind of the power plant, the fundamental power plant for what we can do. It has water, it has a water sewer treatment plant, has a large tank just east on a hill that can serve high pressure sprinkler systems, and it's got planes, trains, and automobiles. So we've got the Jean Airport right there, we have the rail line, which could be a factor for us down the road, and then I-15 runs right by it. So our thesis has been, if you take product from Long Beach and you take it to North Las Vegas, where the most of the industrial product is, that you will pass the 11-hour cab ride and you will have to spend the night. You can't go drop your product and go back to California. We've timed it out, and if you go to Jean, what we're going to build, you're going to be able to drop your product, turn around, and go back to California and not have to spend the night. So we think there's a real logistics benefit to being closer to California than having to wade through the traffic of I-15 to get to North Las Vegas.
How close are you to the potential Ivanpah Airport?
5 miles.
So that's a pretty sweet place to be.
Yeah, I think the lands bill is going to release 38,000 acres, all going south. So the path of progress for Las Vegas is clearly going towards California. We're a little bit ahead of that. I think that benefits us, but there's just such high demand for industrial, both in northern and southern Las Vegas, right, in southern Nevada, that the fundamentals really line up to be a little bit pioneering. I mean, we're outside of the main industrial core, but we think, again, our thesis makes a lot of sense to be closer to California.
Okay, so one of the things that strikes me immediately is that as against Apex, which is still putting in infrastructure, you already have a lot of infrastructure already in place. And to me, that was the secret of TRI, was that Roger Norman invested $100 million in infrastructure before anybody bought anything out there.
Yeah, it was the absolute key to its success. And yeah, we're one step ahead. We have everything we need there. We just need to kind of plug it in and drag it to the right places. But yeah, I think our speed to market's gonna increase compared to some of our competitors.
Okay, so for folks that have driven that route, they would recognize it as what was formerly MGM Properties, then currently Terrible Hearst's, the largest gas station in the country.
96 pumps, they're the largest Chevron in the world, I guess is the way they market it. And the Hearst family will continue to run that. So they're also building a Starbucks there. There's a White Castle burger and so a very, very large convenience store.
Okay, so what kind, now you've had this under wraps for a couple of months now,
Right.
But what kind of interest have you already sparked?
Yeah, it's been a lot. We've been slowly marketing it to the brokers in Las Vegas, and the response has been really robust. I mean, I think the vacancy in Las Vegas right now is under 2%, same in Reno. And so there's just a huge demand for larger footprint industrial space. And I'll just give you a couple quick anecdotes. So the pandemic has obviously increased the demand. Pre-pandemic, companies would have a just-in-time strategy. So they would keep 30 to 60 days of inventory in their warehouse to be able to get it to the consumer. Now they have a just-in-case strategy. So they want, which is translating to 3 to 4 times the amount of inventory that they want to keep in a warehouse just in case a pandemic hits, war, supply chain issues, everything that we're experiencing right now. And that's translating into 4.5 times the need for warehouse space, I would say, over the next 5 to 7 years. Pre-pandemic, 13% of all online sales, all retail sales were online. That's going to move to 30% in the next, I'd say, 5 years. So we have just slammed the accelerator down on the need for storage space, and industrial has really become the new retail. Bricks and mortar is going to be less and less in vogue than ordering online and getting your products delivered to your doorstep.
Okay, so I'll throw an opposite view in here,
Sure.
which is that everything old is new again. And even though we're seeing a downturn over the last couple of years in portions of retail, reinvention is always the key to these industries. Sure. And you see companies like Amazon, which is the biggest online purveyor, they bought Whole Foods. They're opening stores across the country. So even they look at it and go, hey, retail is not dead. People still want that experience of going into a place, touching, feeling. I bought a product the other day online that I thought was going to be the answer to my prayers. It was very nice, but it wasn't close. Right. It would have been so much nicer to have gone to a store, utilized that product and gone, yeah, I like it, I don't like it, whatever.
Right, I think experiential retail is going to continue to be popular, and we can debate what is categorized as experiential retail. Japan, their online sales is 80%.
80%?
80. We're today, we're at 17%. So there's going to be, I don't think we're going to go to 80%. There'll be something in between. But it does translate into a really, really strong demand for industrial space.
Do you think that's a function of the age of the population in Japan?
That's fair, although I saw my 84-year-old mother order dog food online for the first time during pandemic, and the 50-pound bag showed up at her doorstep, and she's never going back, right? So the pet store is no longer experiential retail for my mom. And I think you're going to see, there are going to be some things where people want to, and I think food is one of those things, produce, you're going to want to touch and feel and decide. And going into Whole Foods is its own unique experience. I like doing it on a Sunday. But going to the pet store or going to CVS or some of the things that are maybe a little less exciting and experiential online fits the bill.
All right, so to give people an idea of how big 140 acres is, City Center sits on about half of that in Las Vegas. Right. The Grand Sierra in Reno, if you take all the land that the property sits on, that's close to 150 acres. So this is a huge piece of property. What kind of, because at TRI, so many million square foot buildings plus right. The Gigafactory on its way to 16 million square feet. Right. What do you envision for this property?
These are large. If you go to TRI or some of the industrial submarkets around Reno or Las Vegas, you'll see these large 30-foot to 40-foot clear warehouses. They're typically one story. I think the only multi-story that we have is the Tesla Gigafactory. But they take a large footprint. We like kind of 500 to 1 million square foot buildings. That seems to be fit the logistics profile that most companies want right now. So we'll build just shy of, say, 2 million square feet on this. That the profile of the land is it's not perfectly rectangle, so we've got some different size buildings to be able to fit and get the coverage that we need, say 250,000 square feet to hopefully 1 million square feet. So, and that's a nice size for us.
Okay, I remember talking to Roger Norman and Lance Gilman back in 1998. They were actually quoted in the Las Vegas Review-Journal as saying that they wouldn't live long enough to see TRI built out. Of course, they turned out to be liars because it's built out.
Right.
What's your timeline on this project?
Yeah, we just closed last week, and we will go as quickly as possible. The permitting, like in most cities right now, is slow, but our hope is that we can be online with our first building at the end of 2023. So.
Okay, and this is all Clark County, correct?
All Clark County, correct.
So you don't have to deal with any other cities, or?
Nope. No, it's been, they're impacted with the amount of activity that's going on, but we're going to hit the ground running right away. So.
How excited are you?
Oh, I'm really excited. I've built in Las Vegas before. We built the largest building back in the early 2000s, 420,000 square foot in North Las Vegas, and it was occupied very quickly. So in a previous life, say 13 years ago, I'd built in Las Vegas and had always kind of looked south and wondered, is there a way that we could get closer to California? We hired a partner in our company, Corey Hunt, who used to be the Deputy Director of Economic Development under Sandoval. He's one of the better strategy minds that I know, and he was able to kind of sniff out this opportunity, has cornerbacked it for us. And we think we've got a tiger by the tail, and that it's going to be less congestion, less traffic. I think from an environmental standpoint, less gas, and it's going to serve the population really well. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Funding sources. Is the money still coming into Nevada from Southern California?
Yeah, so there is so much dry powder for real estate right now, Sam. I think there's $284 billion of dry powder in institutions, pension funds waiting to be invested in United States real estate. And all these allocations are moving up now. It's seen as a safer haven than maybe it was 15, 20 years ago. So CalPERS, who's our largest pension fund, I think they're $384 billion. 15 years ago, they had a 6% allocation to commercial real estate. They now have gone to 11% and say they're going to go to 15%. And if you do that across endowments, insurance companies who are all upping their allocations, there is just an insatiable demand for industrial and multifamily right now. But I would say across all the four food groups, retail, multifamily, even office, in industrial, that you're going to see more and more money moving into the space, particularly when you have a choppy stock market like it is right now.
Well, I was going to say, when you look at the stock market, if you're in your 20s or 30s, maybe even your 40s, it's a good place to be over the long term. But if you're really looking at the long term for security, then isn't land still the place to be?
Land is the place to be, yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with part 2. If I could just get him excited about this project.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low, and our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way, because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Par Tolles. He's the CEO of Tolles Development Company. So one of the things that's under discussion and has been for a long time, which is, are people going to go back to their offices? If they're going to go back to their offices, how are they going to go back to their offices? My thought, in the same way as travel, salespeople going in person to sales calls, that if you lose out on one sale because you didn't show up in person, you did Zoom versus somebody showing up, all bets are off, everybody's going to be flying. What's been the story with office space?
Yeah, I would say you and I've heard you use that quote before on different shows. I'm in agreement with you. I think we have a modest office portfolio downtown, but we have had very little attrition because of the pandemic. People took appropriate time off over the last 2 years, but we didn't have anybody leave. And I think two things. One, I think there is just a creative need for collaboration. I think you and I talked about an article in the New York Times where really the FAANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google have been the most active buyers of real estate during the pandemic. I think there's a realization that there is a sector of your company that has that can operate from a hybrid standpoint, but nothing replaces collaboration. We feel the same way in our office. We, as soon as it was legal and comfortable for us to come back, we haven't missed a beat, and we've been in the office every day. So, yeah, I think, it will go on as a debate. But when I see packed restaurants and packed football games, and there comes a point where there's very little reason for you not to be back in the office. And I think it's just going to be one click, Sam. I think it's going to be a Goldman Sachs or a Bank of America that finally rings the bell. Major institution that calls them back, and then suddenly you're going to see the requirements change. I have 4 of my guys are married to nurses and they've got kids, and so Zoom has been wonderful to help from a family situation, and that's not really pandemic related. That's just, hey, let's figure out a way to make this work. And so we've been able to find a nice semi-hybrid in our office just for family reasons. But I think we're getting very close to where the pandemic shouldn't weigh on your reason for being in the office or not.
One of the other developers in Reno, CAI, who's developing the old Harrah's Reno property, they didn't seem to have any problem leasing out a big chunk of their office space right away.
Yeah, I agree, and I know those fellows. We've talked to them a little bit, and they feel they're kind of on the same page as we are, and I think they expect in-office participation here very shortly.
I'll give away the fact that I moved my offices recently, and I'm taking space right under your office in one of the Tolles buildings in downtown. And one of the things I discussed with realtors as I was looking for a place to move into was that the pricing of office space in Reno, I don't know what it's like in Las Vegas, but in Reno at least, that we're seeing the same kind of action going on that we've seen in the housing market, where the pricing has just gone up because the demand is so great.
Yeah, and we've had very little product delivered. I think, we built a 25,000 square foot office building, what Reno would consider a Class A office building in Ranchera, and leased it very easily. It wasn't to new companies. I think it was more of a flight to quality. Our tenants are looking for new space, and when it's there, they'll take it. I think we're right on the cusp. I think you'll see a couple announcements from some other developers on some spec office space. With the expectation that now that we've been discovered, Reno's been discovered, that and we're cheaper than California, that we're going to see some newer companies coming over the hill and occupying that type of product.
For those in the South that may not be aware of what Ranch Harrah is, that is the old ranch that Bill Harrah owned, the original owner of Harrah's, and it's a huge tract of land. You took a big chunk of the retail and commercial development. It seemed like that got leased out really quickly.
It did. We're 100% leased. We delayed our opening for about a year and a half, like everybody else that was in my situation, just to the pandemic. But it's been a really, really good success story. It's a boutique, higher end office retail mixed development right in front of the Harrah's Mansion. We call it the living room of Reno. It will, back to our experiential retail discussion, it is experiential retail, and it's a lovely place to go out to eat and shop, and we're just about fully open. I'd say in the next 90 days, we're finishing TIs, tenant improvements for our last remaining tenants, and it's a great place. So.
All right.
Come on over and enjoy. So.
You've got a couple of more projects I want to try and hit on. Let's take another break and we'll be right back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Par Tolles. He is the CEO of Tolles Development Company. Home Gardens, for people who have been around the Reno area for a long time, will know that that's at the south end of the Reno airport and was basically cleared out years ago, because the only things you can really put in there are industrial developments.
Right.
You have a project going in there. Describe what's going in there.
Yeah, so back to the industrial discussion. I categorize this as a last mile distribution facility. So we've been in contract with the airport on a long-term ground lease for about a year, and we're moving through the FAA approvals that they regulate a portion of that property. So in the supply chain world, I would say 45 to 75% of your cost of your supply chain is getting the good to the customer. So you go on the boat, into the port, on a truck, and then to a consumer or a business. And then say 25% of that is employment cost, and then 15% of that is inventory, and then 3 to 6% of that is real estate. So you're seeing real estate becoming almost a rounding error for a lot of these companies, and their goal is to get as close to the customer as possible. And we saw Home Gardens as probably the last larger tract of land within the McCarran Ring, and for those in Las Vegas, that's our roundabout, the city around Truckee Meadows, our road around Truckee Meadows.
It's like the 215.
Like the 215. And we saw it as just a really, really strong strategic location to get goods to consumers, and we've already had just incredible interest in it. It's taken a while to go through the approval process, but we're going to do about 800 to I think we're 893,000 square feet, almost 1 million square feet, mainly in medium bay, 200 to 400,000 square foot buildings with one flex building fronting McCarran. So super excited about that project. It's been a long time coming. A lot of people have looked at that property for a long time. It's a little bit more challenging to do ground leases with airports. We've done it before, so we feel comfortable. And again, we've had strong capital attracted to it, and we'll have a good partner, and I think we'll have it probably virtually pre-leased before we finish building.
That's phenomenal, and it just shows the continued growth of the Reno Sparks market, and no wonder Las Vegas keeps looking to the north to figure out how to do what we're doing. Quickly, we've got about a minute left. You're breaking ground on your third building at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center.
Yeah, Tahoe Reno Industrial Center continues to be just a really wonderfully robust market, and the ease of building there is so great. So we've built 2 600,000 square foot buildings in the last 24 months. One was leased to Tesla, where they're actually manufacturing their first, or assembling their first large truck, kind of the 18-wheeler truck.
Which has not been a big story.
It hasn't been a big story, but we've seen them practicing out there and driving around the building, so it's fun to own that building and be a part of that. We just leased up the rest of the second 600,000 square foot building, and then we're going to build a 483,000 square foot building on Pittsburgh, which is right along the it's on the corner of USA Parkway in Pittsburgh. We'll continue to build. I think there's room for about 5 million square feet left in Trick. It's all owned, but we were able to gobble a couple pieces together and build this building. So we'll keep building out there as long as there's land available. So.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't have anything exciting to talk about in this show. Boy, what a time for your company. Congratulations, and come back soon, because I got a funny feeling there's going to be a lot more to talk about.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also download podcasts of the show free of charge at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Everywhere is Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast.